Very shallow. It's this. It's something all folded up. A button?
It was actually way harder than I expected to get this thing unrolled, but we managed to do it, and we are both going to look at it for the first time in probably over 150 years together. Are we ready? Well, hey folks, my name is Brad. If you happen to be new to my videos, I explore the mountains of Vermont, searching for treasure with my metal detector. And today I hiked for miles to find myself here, standing in front of an old stone foundation from a farm that was here over 200 years ago. Now, when I arrived, I noticed that the foundation and all of the surrounding land is totally engulfed in ferns, goldenrod, and thorn bushes, which is going to throw a wrench in our treasure hunting today, but we're going to make the best of it. Plan B is to metal detect all around the perimeter, and hopefully we get lucky and find a few treasures today. Now, if this happens to be one of the first of my videos that you've seen, I publish one of these every single Friday, so if you like what you see here today, consider hitting that subscribe button, or just come on back next week. I'm gonna get the metal detector turned on. Hopefully we find a few treasures today.
So the foundation does have a well right next to it, but this is a little brook, very, very close. And we have not had any rain in weeks, so it is bone dry. So I like to come down to places like this and do some metal detecting because they almost certainly would have been washing their clothes in this when there was water. And I came down, and wouldn't you know it, we have an old glass bottle. Whatever this is. I don't know, an old piece of cast iron. Old bottle pieces there. I saw another one over here. And on the shore, right here, we can see fragments. Well, there's a leaf spring, so it's probably an old carriage. Some big iron pieces there and there. So there's another piece of leaf spring right there. Stuff everywhere. Look at this. Giant horseshoe. So we're going to spend some time metal detecting in here, and then whenever I dig a hole, I'll be on the lookout for glass. And is that a brick? It is a brick. Other items. Now granted, you know, when we get rain up here in the mountains, this becomes torrential, and so there's a lot of things probably way down, but we'll give it a shot. See if we can find anything in here. Well, still kind of following the stream bed a little bit, and I don't know if this was a bank barn. It must have been. But we have a stove here. What does this say? Hartford Machine, Hartford. You think maybe it was made in Hartford? And right here, it looks like more of the stove. There's more writing on it. Oh no, not a stove. Corey's Evaporator, patented September 1st. It must have been a sugar house right here, an old one.
You know, it's funny, I'm no stranger to finding the ruins of old sugar houses up in the mountains of Vermont. That being said, this is the first time I have ever found an evaporator of this size and as professional as this seems. Most of the sugar houses I come across are just a little brick chimney with these pans that people would put maple sap into to make maple syrup, or even boil it down even further to make maple sugar. This thing was quite the contraption, and it seems like in the description you could actually make syrups and sugars from many other things, though this place in particular was undoubtedly maple sap. And what's really interesting is just last week I was on a maple sugaring property where they had the new plastic lines going from tree to tree, but I was speaking with the farmer and he was saying back in his younger days they actually carried the sap by hand, doing it the old way, the way the people that lived here would have done it.
Yeah.
They used to use the bulldozers in the back lot, and Joe had his horses here
Yeah, I told him they had horses up
with
here.
a wooden.
They got two drays here. There's this one that they use for the horses. It's not as heavy as the other one.
Imagine walking from each maple tree to maple tree, each with its own bucket full of, honestly, mostly water, maple sap, dumping it into a larger reservoir on the back of a wagon pulled by horses, all to boil down to maple syrup. Unfortunately, this is going to be an item that the landowner will have to retrieve with a motorized vehicle because I am on foot today and I am not strapping this to my backpack. Awesome find, what a story, and really kind of shed some light on what these folks were doing way up here in the mountains.
We're kind of down from where the home is up there, and there's this retaining wall, for lack of a better word, that has collapsed. And right below it, we have a really loud 76. I know what that is. Awesome.
Well, if there's one thing that is basically a guarantee to find at all of these old places I explore up in the mountains, it would have to be either horse or oxen tack. Whether you were farming or logging or just for travel, it would have been essential to have one of those two animals. And we know that this place had a sugar house, and they would have needed something to pull the sap from the trees to where they were boiling it. What I just found just now is what we call a bridle rosette. This went on the bridle of a horse, and this one is a design that I don't think I've ever seen on a bridle rosette before. It looks like leaves and grapes. Grapes are not exactly the first thing that comes to mind when I think Vermont maple sugaring farm, but who knows, maybe the person who bought the bridle just happened to like that design, or maybe it was the only one to choose from. This one in particular is actually in fantastic shape. This loop on the back is usually iron, and they usually just rust away to nothing, but this one appears to be brass and is still intact. You could probably bend that straight and put it back to work again. What do you think? Can you imagine the horses pulling the wagon full of sap wearing this beautiful little grape rosette? I can.
Well, I am right on the edge of the foundation, and there's iron everywhere. Right here we have a very clear, loud 87. Holy smokes, look at that button. Wow. Look at that design. Beautiful. Jeez, for a second there, I was thinking it happened. It was the George Washington inaugural, but it did not happen. But it is a beautiful button. I was just talking to somebody a couple days ago how they had found several. Still haven't found my first. This one isn't it either. Could have been though. Well, whenever I come to a new place, I'm always curious if it's ever been metal detected before. And one of the ways that you can know for sure is if there are pieces of iron sitting up on stones. For some reason, people who metal detect will find something and they don't want it and they'll put it up on a stone. Well, I just looked down at this stone and there seems to be little iron things all over it. And I don't know what they are, but I think they're awesome. Look at this. They almost resemble Rains guides, but they clearly went into wood. So, oh my gosh, look at them all. They're everywhere. So the question is, did somebody find these metal detecting and set them on the rock, or did they land here when whatever they were in fell and rotted. It actually looks like there's glass melted to them as if they were in a fire. Let me know what you think these things are. Really interesting. Not a clue. I'm hearing the road. We've got a pretty loud 87. That sounds really good. It's out. This? What could that be? Oh. It's one of them. It is part of two of the same shape of a parasol slide. This, I believe, is the slider. You can imagine the ribs, for lack of a better word, of a parasol would fit into this, and this would slide up and down the pole or the handle. And at the very top, there'd be another one of these that would actually have a pinhole that does not move. You know, Victorian ladies, and earlier, honestly, it was very unfashionable to have a tan. So they would have parasols. Very common item because it sounds so good. It sounds like a coin. You find a lot of them. Cool find. All right, here we go. We'll give that one a shot. 81. Very shallow. It's this. It's something all folded up. A button?
Well, finding old buttons is not uncommon whatsoever. But what is uncommon is finding one like this. And I have to wonder, why would someone go through the trouble of curling up an old coat button, and why is it in the ground now? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is perhaps there is something on this button that the original owner no longer agreed with, and they curled it up, destroyed it, and threw it. So what we're going to attempt to do is uncurl this button and see what is on it. Luckily, I actually found a Leatherman metal detecting a couple years ago, and I now keep it in my backpack. So we're going to do our best to unravel this thing and see what's on it. All right, well, it has been a couple minutes. It was actually way harder than I expected to get this thing unrolled, but we managed to do it, and we are both going to look at it for the first time in probably over 150 years together. Are we ready? Drum roll. Well, it appears to just be a pretty design. But that then poses the question again, why would somebody curl up a button like this, which, by the way, would not have been an easy task done with just your fingers. You would have needed tools to get it curled up like this. Let me know what you think, why someone would go through all of the trouble to curl up an old button. We may never know.
$75. I see it. That looks like a two-piece button. Now the question is, what is going to be on the other side?
Well, what we have here, I knew it as soon as I saw it in the hole, is a two-piece button. Now, the vast majority of buttons I find out here are one piece, and they almost never have a design on the front. Occasionally on the back, they'll have a little back mark that honestly doesn't tell you much besides how many times it was silver or gold plated. But what this is a two-piece button, and the vast majority of two-piece buttons I find are military. That is what we are hoping for with this one. We're going to look at the front of it together. The back does seem to have a back mark. I can't quite make it out. Maybe after I get it cleaned up a bit more. I think I see maybe Robinson All right, are we ready? Turn it over together. Second drum roll of the day. And no, it is just another pretty design. That's okay. This one is civilian, I am guessing. I suppose it could be an unmarked military button, but it's more than likely civilian. And I have to imagine the outfit that would have been covered with these big golden buttons. All right, well, I do already have a little handful of buttons. Maybe the next one will be something significant. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I'm here right next to the foundation, digging in this super iron saturated ground. All the nails from the house seemingly fell right here. And I got a really terrible target, dug it up, and it ended up being what I thought at first was just some fence wire or something. But upon closer inspection, it has a little V at the end. And this is actually another part of that parasol that we found earlier. This is one of what I would call the ribs, but we barely ever find these. This one happens to be iron. It's filtered out on my metal detector, but in the same hole as something else. That's just a really cool accidental find in the same hole as something else. Neat. Well, I told myself I would do one last loop around this foundation before packing it in. And wouldn't you believe it, I just got the best target of the day, a solid 95. It does seem to be underneath one of these foundation stones. So I'm going to try to lift this. I don't know if it's going to be possible. Sure. Okay. Not too bad. We moved it to the side. Let's check with the pinpointer. Right here. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. It's a nib block under a foundation stone. Can't make this stuff up. It goes to a scythe handle. And they always sound like silver dollars, like this one did. Underneath the foundation stone. Well, that's how it goes. Got a 72. It's round. What do we think? Ooh, it is very thick. Very thick.
Well, I cannot believe it, but it seems like we finally got ourselves an old coin here, and I have had so many high tones at this place, and every single time I'm expecting, or at least hoping, that it's going to be an old coin, and for some reason, every single time, it's a bullet. I don't know what it is about this place and the bullets reading very, very high like coins, but it's been very frustrating. Lo and behold, the first and only coin of the day was not a high tone. It was quite a bit lower. And as we take a look at it here, I can tell that it's actually a very special variety of Indian head cent. Right when these things started being made, 1859 to 1864, they were quite a bit thicker than our 1 cent coins are today. I can feel it in my hand, but you can probably also see just how thick this is. And looking at the back of it, we can see that there is a shield, which narrows down the date range on this particular coin between 1860 and 1864. Fortunately, I don't think we're ever going to be able to read the date on this particular coin. The ground was not too kind to it, but that's okay. A 4-year date range is good enough for me. I am positive there are more old coins at this place, but the question remains whether I'm going to be able to get to them today. Something tells me they're all in those ferns and goldenrod where I cannot go. But we did manage to find one, and I am grateful for that. All right, folks, well, I am calling it quits for the day, and believe it or not, I actually metal detected for a solid 8 hours today, all around the perimeter of this property, and our pile of treasures doesn't exactly reflect that, but I still had an absolute blast, and we did find a few pretty cool things. We have a little handful of buttons, some with designs, some spoons, our bridle rosette, the infamous nib block, and our one and only coin for the day, a thick Indian head cent dated sometime between 1860 and 1864. All in all, a pretty good day. Now, when I arrived here today, I had big plans to do a lot of metal detecting around the foundation itself. We were able to do a little bit of that, but because of all these ferns and goldenrod, I wasn't really able to get to where I wanted to. But come early springtime, we will absolutely make a return trip and find all of the treasures that might be hidden beneath that foliage. Now, if you happen to enjoy today's video so much you'd like to see a longer version, including more site context, more finds, and even some outtakes, well, if there is one... swallowed a bug. Consider becoming a Green Mountain member. All of the information for that will be down in the comment section below this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and hopefully you'll join me next Friday for another new adventure somewhere up here in the mountains of Vermont.